All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev, Text 31. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata shubhas tad ikshayaivasu gata yudhashramaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtavajanyam visrijan janardanam. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata shubhas tadikshayaivasu gata yudhashramaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtavajanyam visrijan janardanam. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata shubhas tadikshayaivasu gata yudhashramaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtavajanyam visrijan janardanam.
Hare Krishna. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata shubhas tad ikshayeva sugata yuddha shramaha nirvritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtavajanyam vishajan janardanam.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, please go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Ram Prabhu.
No, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Vishuddhaya Dhar. Sorry, my screen just got covered right here. I can't see.
Okay, Prabhuji, sir.
It's okay. Thank you. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata shubhas tad ikshayaivasu gata yudha shramaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtavajanyam vishujan janardanam.
Hare Krishna. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata subhas tad ikshayaivasu gata yudha srama nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtavajanyam visajana janardanam. Hare Krishna.
Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata shubhas tadikshayeva sugata yuddha shramaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtavajanyam vishujan janardanam. Hare Krishna.
विशुद्धया धारणाय हत अशुभ तत् इक्षया एव असु गता युद्ध श्रमा निवृत्त सर्व इंद्रियावृत्ति विभ्रमा तुस्तव जनया विसर्जन जनार्दन. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
विशुद्धया धारणया हताशुभास् तदीक्षयैवासु गतायुधाश्रमा निवृत्त सर्वेन्द्रियवृत्तिविभ्रमास् तुत्सावजन्यं विसृजन् जनार्दनम्. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
विशुद्धया धारिणया हता शुभास् तद इक्षिवैवासु ततयुद्धश्रमः निवृत्त सर्वेन्द्रियावृत्ति विभ्रमास् तुष्टावजनयाम विसर्जन जनार्दनम्. हरे कृष्ण.
Anyone else? Okay, so we can do the word to word. Vishuddhaya, by purified. Dharanaya, meditation. Hata ashubhaha, one who has minimized the inauspicious qualities of material existence. Tat, him. Ikshaya, by looking on. Eva, simply. Ashu, immediately. Gata, having gone away. Yudha, from the arrows. Shramaha, fatigue. Nivritta, being stopped. Sarva, all. Indriya, senses. Vritti, activities. Vibhramaha, being widely engaged. Tushtava, he prayed. Janyam, the material tabernacle. Visrijan, while quitting. Janardanam, to the controller of the living beings. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendentally to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. Purport. The material body is a gift of the material energy, technically called illusion. Identification with the material body is due to forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with the Lord. For a pure devotee of the Lord like Bhishma Dev, this illusion was at once removed as soon as the Lord arrived. Lord Krishna is like the sun, and the illusory external energy is like darkness. In the presence of the sun, there is no possibility that darkness can stand. Therefore, just on the arrival of Lord Krishna, all material contamination was completely removed, and Bhishma Dev was thus able to be transcendentally situated by stopping the activities of the impure senses in collaboration with matter. The soul is originally pure, and so also the senses. By material contamination, the senses assume the role of imperfection and impurity. By revival of contact with the Supreme Pure, Lord Krishna, the senses again become freed from material contaminations. Bhishma Dev attained all these transcendental conditions prior to his leaving the material body because of the Lord's presence. The Lord is the controller and benefactor of all living beings. That is the verdict of all Vedas. He is the supreme eternity and living entity amongst all the eternal living beings. And He alone provides all the necessities for all kinds of living beings. Thus, He provided all facilities to fulfill the transcendental desires of His great devotee Bhishma Dev, who prayed as follows. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hatashubhas tad ikshayaivasu gata yudhashramaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtava janyam visrijan janardanam. You can share the screen. Yes, thank you. So by pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendentally to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. So, Bhishma Dev was speaking to Yudhishthir Maharaj. When Bhishma Dev expressed his desire to quit his body, looking at the beautiful face of Krishna, Yudhishthir Maharaj immediately took the opportunity to ask Bhishma Dev about dharma, about the duties of the king and of the duties of different ashrams and varnas, because he didn't have much time. Bhishma Dev was going to leave soon. He got that hint. So when Bhishma Dev was asked by Yudhishthir Maharaj, Bhishma Dev began to answer all types of dharmas. he explained about the dharma for Dev. What were the different dharmas that Yudhishthir Maharaj explained? I'm sorry, Bhishma Dev explained. Dana dharma, Raja dharma, Moksha dharma, Stri dharma, Bhagavad dharma, like that, on various topics. And Srila Prabhupada gave elaborate purports also for all these different types of dharmas. This is one of the biggest sections in in Mahabharata. Bhishma Dev's instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj. All different types of dharmas. And when Bhishma Dev noticed that the time had arrived for him to give up his body. I just remembered this when we talked a few days ago when we had a Srimad Bhagavatam class. There was a discussion about etiquette, about going in front of the deity, how the seniors should be allowed to go in front of the deity first. So there, while we were discussing, a point came up that yes, if nobody else is there, you will certainly go and take that opportunity to go in front of the deity, right? If that spot is available and no one else is going, we are always eager to go and take darshan of the Lord, go close up front to the Lord. So similarly, it is not that a devotee plans at this time I will leave my body and then I will arrange and all that. But when that opportune moment arrived, why not use it? Right? If a devotee uses everything in Krishna's service. So generally those who are yogis in yesterday's verse, or was it the day before yesterday's verse? Yes, yesterday's verse. And both yesterday and day before yesterday's verse. The opportune time arrived and Bhishma Dev stopped speaking. He stopped speaking on all these topics. And now he completely focused his attention on Krishna. He was talking about all different types of dharmas. Dharma for Kshatriyas, for Brahmacharis, for Grihastas, for, women, and so many different topics he was talking about, quoting from various scriptures. But when he noticed that the time for giving up his body had arrived, he withdrew his mind from all these other topics. So I would like to actually go over the words in the Sanskrit. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hatashubhas tad ikshayaivasu gata yudhashramaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtava janyam visrijan janardanam. So what did Bhishma Dev do? First thing, actually the second line, tad ikshayaivasu. Ikshaya means to glance. When Krishna arrived on the battlefield with Yudhishthir Maharaj, Krishna glanced upon Bhishma Dev. He glanced on Bhishma Dev, on his limbs. His body was pierced by these arrows. He was looking at Bhishma Dev. And by Krishna's glance on Bhishma Dev, immediately Bhishma Dev's body was relieved of all pains caused by the arrow wounds. At that very moment, when Krishna came to the battlefield and when he glanced on Bhishma Dev, because of Krishna's glance, instantly his body was relieved of all pains caused by the arrow wounds. And now Bhishma Dev is withdrawing his mind from all other topics and he is meditating on Lord Krishna alone. So in yoga practice, there are 8 steps, right? Ashtanga yoga, 8 angas. There is yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, and samadhi. The first 5 are exercises, but really the goal is samadhi, to meditate, to focus the mind on the object, on the Supreme, on Paramatma or on the Supreme Lord. That is the process in Ashtanga Yoga. So the last 3 are meditation, dhyana, dharana, and samadhi. Samadhi is the goal. So in dhyana, so in the first 5 steps, they, yama, niyama, right? They're following rules and sitting postures and breathing exercises and eating habits, controlling all these things are done. Then it begins with dhyana. Dhyana means you meditate on the form of the Lord. And dharana is, so dhyana is you're meditating on the Lord, but it is not continuous. You try to focus your meditation on the Lord, but sometimes the mind goes here and there. And again, you have to bring it back. Whereas dharana is a stage where the meditation is continuous. So it is explained like taila dhara. Taila means oil. When you pour oil, it falls in a continuous string. Whereas when you pour water, it is not continuous. So dharana is compared to taila dhara, like oil when it is flowing. It's continuous. Your meditation on the Lord is continuous. That's called dharana. So here it's Vishuddhaya Dharanaya. Bhishma Dev's meditation on the Lord is continuous and Vishuddhaya. There is no other object. He is only focusing on the form of Lord Krishna. And here it's even easier for Bhishma Dev because this is not internal meditation. He's not like a yogi sitting and he's internally meditating on the form of the Lord. The Lord is standing right in front of him. He's looking at the form of the Lord and all his attention is on the Lord continuously. He's completely unaware of everything else. That is his state. Vishuddhaya Dharanaya. And what is the result of this dharana, this meditation on the Lord? Hata Ashubha. Ashubha is anything which is inauspicious. Hata, it's ended. Everything inauspicious has ended because of his meditation on the form of the Lord. Continuous meditation, a purified meditation on the form of the Lord. So when he was talking about all these other subjects, about different types of dharmas, and even before when he was fighting, the mind will go here and there. There is a chance of the mind getting scattered on so many different topics. It's not continuously meditated on the Supreme Lord. It's getting scattered here and there. So now Bhishma Dev withdrew his mind from all these other topics and he meditated on Krishna. But by this meditation, any contamination that may have been because of the mind thinking of other topics, all that contamination was removed. If there is any contamination, that is all removed. And this is the principle. Krishna in Ishopanishad, Sri Ishopanishad, the Supreme Lord is described as Shuddha and Shuddham and Apapa Viddham. Shuddham means he is pure, he is completely pure. So when someone is completely pure, somebody who is impure comes in contact with this pure person, that impurity will be removed. Just like the sun. The sun is very powerful. Even when the sun comes in contact with stool or urine, which is obnoxious, the contamination becomes purified because of association with the sun. So therefore, it is necessary, it is important that one meditate on the Supreme Lord. When we meditate on the Supreme Lord, then our consciousness is purified. All the impurities are removed. They are purified. So here in Ashtanga Yoga, the meditation is done. The mind is focused on the Lord. So in Bhakti Yoga, we meditate on the Lord by chanting on the holy name of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna. By that meditation also our consciousness is purified. Another important point is the Lord's glancing on Bhishma Dev. That is removing all the pains, all the sufferings of the body that Bhishma Dev was experiencing. Actually, he became separated from the body. He's not affected by the conditions of the body anymore. So similarly, when we take darshan of the deity in the temple, we go and we see the Lord, but the Lord is also seeing us. And when the Lord sees the devotee, everything inauspicious in his life is removed by the glance of the Lord. That is why it is essential that we should go in front of the deity and stand in front of the deity, offer something to the Lord, make a prayer, thank the Lord like that, so that the Lord can glance on us. And because he's all pure, his glance, when his glance falls on the devotee, everything inauspicious is removed from his life. Okay, so I'll just go over the purport, the points that Srila Prabhupada makes in the purports. The material body is a gift of the material energy, technically called illusion. Identification with the material body is due to forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with the Lord. So that is the condition of anyone who has a material body, or anyone who is conditioned by the material body. We are forgetful of our eternal relationship of the Lord, and we have come to this world, and that is illusion. But for a pure devotee, this illusion is not there. So when we have turned away from the Supreme Lord, that is illusion. When we turn once again towards the Supreme Lord, then we are reconnected with the Supreme Lord. Then the illusion will not be there. So for Bhishma Dev, there was no illusion, but whatever illusion may have been because of his being engaged in other activities, it was at once removed when the Lord arrived there and glanced on him. So then there's another point about the senses. The soul is originally pure, and so also the senses. By material contamination, the senses assume the role of imperfection and impurity. So just like the soul, well, the soul does not become impure, but because of the soul's forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord, because of that Vaimukyam, turning away from the Supreme Lord, immediately he's captured by the material energy. and then he enters into duality. So the root cause is forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. So along with that comes false ego. So originally the soul also has senses. These senses are pure and they are like gold. The senses of the soul in his pure state are like pure gold. But when they are covered by this ignorance, and when they are influenced by the material energy, they become like iron. By the process of devotional service, which acts like a touchstone, this iron can once again be turned into gold. So in the material condition, our senses are impure, imperfect and impure. But by contacting the Supreme Lord through devotional service, the senses can become free from this imperfection. And once again, they can be pure. So simply because of the Lord's glance and Bhishma Dev's meditation on the Supreme Lord, all his senses were once again purified. And then the Lord is the controller and benefactor of all living beings. He is the maintainer, he is the benefactor, he is the controller. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. Of all living entities, he is the chief living entity. Of all conscious beings, he is the chief being. And he is the maintainer, whereas everyone else is maintained. So just like he's maintaining all the living entities, he's also maintaining his devotees and doing the needful, whatever the devotee needs at that time. So he alone provides all the necessities of all kinds of living beings. Thus, he provided all facilities to fulfill the transcendental desires of his great devotee Bhishma Dev, who prayed as follows. It is said that by Krishna's glance, it's not that the arrows were removed from his body. They were still there. The arrows were passing, still going through his body. But like a miracle, all of a sudden, they didn't hurt his body anymore. It was as though he was on a bed of flowers or something. He didn't feel the pain any longer by Krishna's glance. So that is what we are seeking. We are aspiring for Krishna's glance on us. And we are praying to Bhishma Dev that we may be able to meditate on the form of Krishna like that. Yeah, I don't have many points to discuss here. If there's anything that any of you would like to add, I welcome you. And I stop here. Yes, Shyamagori Mataji.
Haribo. Thank you, Shanataji. Thank you so much. Thank you for like small bits. Like you said, you compared the dharana to the tail dhara.
Yeah.
That was really nice, so that I won't forget it again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. In Nectar of Devotion, we talk about bhakti, the angas of bhakti. You have Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So in Smaranam, this comes, the 5 stages. Because in Ashtanga Yoga, as I said, the first 5 stages are the exercises. Actual meditation begins from dhyana. So in Smaranam, what is Smaranam? When we remember, that actually happens in 5 stages. That is given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So first is Smaranam, then second one is Dhritanusmriti, something like that. And the third one is Dhyana, then Dharana, then Samadhi. So the last 3 stages are the same. Even in Bhakti Yoga, in Smaranam, which is Smaranam is a direct anga of Bhakti. So there also there is dhyana, dharana and samadhi. So in smaranam, you are remembering the Lord randomly. Then dhritanusmriti, what happens is you focus on one part of the Lord, one form, like you begin with the lotus feet, right? First in smaranam, what happens is you are just remembering, trying to remember the Lord, the form of the Lord in general. But in the next stage, you are actually focusing on one limb, like you just focus on the lotus feet. And then when you are completely focused on that, then you start moving up like that. So in dhyana, what happens is this focus is there, but it is not continuous. You have to keep pulling your mind back. Whereas in dharana, your focus becomes continuous. And samadhi, what happens in samadhi is you forget yourself. You forget your own existence. Only the Lord is existing. You don't see yourself anymore. You just see the Lord. So this is the progression of smaranam in bhakti. So the last three stages we also see in yoga. So yeah, thank you, Mataji. Prabhuji, Kalpesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So
Hare
nice class. Thank you for elaborating on Ashtanga Yoga. Yeah, so I took some notes on that. So thank you for those good examples of sun and all. My question is, like in the previous conversation, like not on this class, but Dronacharya Prabhu mentioned about art of living and art of dying is connected. So it stick to my brain very well. And this brought to my attention that this is not the first instance Bhishmadev is seeing the Lord. I'm just saying this as a statement, but as a like I need some clarification. He was a living reality with Krishna for the time, and what made him realize during his time, because that art of living is connected to art of dying. So how it like is that realization with what does his senses were always pure and meditative in whatever his actions were, because this is kind of connected with our identity, with daily life, how to live life and not get identified, and that having that separation between material body and that divine soul. So if you can just express a little bit on that. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and let me first try to understand properly the point that you made. So Bhishmadev had seen Krishna even before. He was pure before. So your question is, what made him decide that now is the time that I should meditate on the Lord to give up my body? Was that the question?
I was asking basically, did he got this in reading this purport? Does that mean that he got the realization at this point, or it was realized always? And if it was realized always, then what made him to go against the Lord? The wages of war. I mean, those are. I mean, see, this is art of living is connected to art of dying, right?
Yes,
so,
yes.
So every activities he did, he was did he fully aware, or
Yeah.
I mean, those are the things, you know. So
Yes,
self-realization is what state, you know.
Yes.
Was he was always transcendental, or he just realized transcendental?
No. He was always transcendental. It's not that he just realized. He's an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord from the spiritual world. And he is used as an instrument by the Lord. Just like Krishna used Arjun as an instrument. Arjun is an eternal associate of the Lord. Arjun used him as an instrument to teach a lesson, to give us Bhagavad Gita. So Arjun was put into illusion, right? Similarly, Bhishma Dev was also used by the Lord as an instrument to teach us a lesson. What is that lesson? Who is Bhishma Dev? He's the son of Ganga Devi. And he was the student of Parashuram. He was the student of Brihaspati. He was raised amongst the demigods. And he had the power of 10,000 elephants. He was an Atirathi. Atirathi means one who can fight with any number of opponents, not just like, there's a number for Maharathi and Rathi like that, with 1,000, 10,000 warriors. He can fight with any number of warriors. So he's an extremely powerful personality. And on top of all this, he's a Mahajan. He's one of the 12 Mahajans, authorities in Bhakti. So the point is, however great you may be the greatest person. You may even be a Mahajan. But if you side with Adharma, if you stand on the side of Adharma, then you will meet with defeat. That is the lesson that the Lord wanted to teach this world. And to teach that lesson, he uses his own devotee. And a devotee simply wants to be used by the Lord. He wants to be of some service to the Lord. He's happy. So this is the greatness of Bhishma Dev, that he very happily agreed to take that position, knowing very well that he will be misunderstood. For all the future, in all the future generations, people will think that Bhishma Dev, simply because of some material reasons, because he's being maintained by the Kauravas, by Dhritarashtra Maharaj, he sided with Adharma, although he should have gone to Krishna. He will be misunderstood. But Bhishma Dev wanted to be of some service to Krishna, even at the cost of being defamed himself. This is a devotee. Nevertheless, the Lord always glorifies his devotee. So that's how we know, right? Because the Lord glorifies his devotee. So the points still come out. So was he aware of Krishna's position throughout? Yes, he was aware. He was transcendental. In fact, earlier today, I was I had another class, we were reading Krishna book. So there we read, this point came up, that when Bhishma Dev, when Lord Krishna picked up the chariot wheel and rushed towards Bhishma Dev immediately dropped all his weapons and he just surrendered. He was welcoming Krishna, come, kill me. Same meditation, isn't it? If that were the last moment, that's the goal of his life. He wants to just be absorbed in Krishna. If Krishna had come to kill him at that moment, he would have very happily, that would be the success of his life. He was in ecstasy, seeing Krishna in that form as a warrior, because that's the relationship of Bhishma Dev with Krishna in Veeraras, like a warrior. And there was Krishna attacking Bhishma Dev, coming with a weapon in his hand. And Bhishma Dev was ready to give up at that point also. But of course, Krishna had more service for him. So he accepted. So he lived on, right? Like that.
This is for us, okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mitravinda Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad. I just want to thank you again for giving such a wonderfully informative and reflective class, and for sharing such deep and revealing aspects of Bhishma Dev and how surrendered he was and is to Krishna and the process of Dharma, even to the point where he's doing something that looks a particular way that is unfavorable. And it made me reflect on yesterday's Bhagavad Gita reading. I had a question, and it regarded, the importance of not mimicking or what is the word? Imitating.
Yes.
Without understanding an actual deep reflection on oneself spiritually, but also who we want to become and our actions in dealing with our inner emotions and mind and everything else in order to actually aspire to become, Krishna conscious, to do bhakti. Bhishma Dev went through so much. He did things that were against Dharma, and also understanding what Dharma is, it is so helpful in understanding what we need to do. And I understood something regarding Bhagavad Gita years ago, and one of the aspects shared was that Bhagavad Gita was also written to show what would happen if there are offenses against jivas and female bodies, not because of the body, but because of the dharmic effects written in all Shastra about protecting women, cows, children, elderly, and brahmanas. And in this age of Kali Yuga, as it progresses, even, sometimes, it's reflected in ways that just whatever, it's okay in our line. And that's something that's, my understanding is a misconception. We can't just go with the flow. We have to stick with what is in Shastra and strive for that, not just in how we dress, but in how we think and how we proceed to have community and family.
Yes. I really appreciate how you connected yesterday's Bhagavad Gita point with Bhishma Dev. It's wonderful. Bhishma Dev could have, just went to the side of the Pandavas, isn't it? But he had a role to play there. There was a lesson that Krishna wanted to teach through him. So he stuck with his duty. So, yes, and that very well connects with what we read in Bhagavad Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swanushtitat. What is the third line? Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha Paradharmo Bhayavaha. It is better to engage in one's own duty, even though faultily, than to engage in another's duty perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than following another's path, because that leads to destruction. So also when we were reading about different dharmas, brahmachari dharma, grihastha dharma, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya dharma, you stick to your particular duty that has been assigned to you and try to do the best you can instead of copying others. So that was the topic yesterday, and Mitravinda Mataji is connecting it with Bhishma Dev's position. So yes, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. And also, yes, I want to thank Dronacharya Prabhu's class the other day about detachment, which also Kalpesh Prabhu brought up today. It was very, very practical and something that we have to meditate on every day because we are living with it, right? How to be detached from the influence of material energy. And sometimes we are in situations where we don't want to be, but we are forced to be, but how we can come out of it through detachment. So I appreciated that. Thank you. So if there's no other questions, we can end here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.